an educator. I have over 20 years experience in mathematics education in the city of Dayton on both the high school and college level. I am also a business owner. I own Third Perk Coffee House and Wine.
I'm Tiffany Countryman. I am the founder and CEO of Ministries Me Ministries. We are a faith-based event planning and project management company, and we center community empowerment.
I'm Mama Noso. I'm everybody's mama. So next time you see me, say mama, and I will take care of you as a mother, and you will take care of me as my child.
Hey, good evening. My name is Jared Grandy. I am a writer, organizer, and just concerned community member.
Hi everybody, my name's Omope Carter Boy. Cool people call me Mama O. I tell stories and grow food. And teach others how to grow food.
My name is Talea Noble. I'm a servant of the Most High. I produce a podcast called Let's Talk About It with Talea, the Real, the Raw, the Relevant podcast. It's a forerunner for my nonprofit, the Move Forward Movement. We are healing the whole world, one child, one conversation, one collaboration, one predestination at a time. I'm happy to be here today. Thank you.
I'm Greg West. I'm a labor leader in the community. I also started a nonprofit organization, Felons with a Future, where we work with restored citizens who come home and teach them how to become entrepreneurs, get them back into the community. Also an organizer in the community, and maybe be your next county commissioner.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you all again for being here. I'm going to also point out my moderator here, Peanut. Go ahead.
I'm Curtis Peanut Johnson, CEO of Dashers LLC. Your business is my business. 1/4 of Official Network and Chill, 1/2 of the Legendary People podcast.
Thank you. And behind the scenes, we have another speaker slash tech god. His name is Christopher Gay. He's actually using blockchain technology right now to stream this live to all of you at home and to allow us live here to vote and chat amongst each other, as well as host this conversation so that it is not us speaking at the community, but with the community. We're gonna jump right in. I wanna talk about, like I said, the upcoming election, and if you don't know, the upcoming election official date is May 2nd. You can actually vote early, and you can vote as early as
The very first day, which I always do that, because I noticed that in May and in November, it's either raining or snowing or too windy, and people, that's the excuse they'll use when they didn't go to vote. I don't have any excuses. The first day is usually just fine. 8 o'clock, I'm there.
And I believe it's 30 days before the actual date of election, so as early as April 4th, you voted? Yes. And so it's important to know what your rights are when it comes to vote, how you can vote, when you can vote, and who you're voting for. So like I said, we're gonna host a conversation around that. To start though, I wanna take a step back and ask you as community leaders and certain organizations, what do you do or what can you do to encourage voter participation and engagement in the local elections as it stands?
Well, you can have conversations about voting and why it's important. And we have to make sure that our community understands that our local elections have more impact on us personally than the national elections. So you always see more turnout during national elections, but we truly have more impact on what happens locally. So the fact that we have 2 city commission seats up for grabs means that everybody needs to come out in this first primary in May, because if you don't come out in that first primary in May, then the incumbents may not have any competition in November. So if you want your voice to be heard, you have to get out and vote.
And to build on that, the things that we vote on in local elections are the things that impact you every day, right? Whose streets get paved? What city services are you receiving? Who receives those city services? The squeaky wheel gets the grease in local elections, and the benefit that we have locally is that we can show up, speak out, and our concerns will be addressed because they know who we are, right? And we are a part of this community, and hold them directly accountable. You can't hold Joe Biden directly accountable. You can't hold Mayor Mims or Commissioner Shaw directly accountable if you so choose to participate in the process.
You absolutely. Okay.
And one thing that I always emphasize, we have enough people out there doing voter registration, which is important. But I believe we need to have more forums talking about voter, education. A lot of people don't know how our government runs here in you know what I'm saying, Dayton and in Montgomery County area. They go down there and they talk about issues that, you know, if they understood who really runs this city and how it really runs, they could address it the right way, like Jared said. I mean, they would know who to hold accountable instead of just complaining, you know.
Right.
Yeah, when I'm when I'm encouraging people to vote, I let them know that voting is your voice. I had to wait for 7 decades before my voice could be heard because I was not a citizen of any country, and therefore I couldn't vote anywhere. So I really didn't have a voice. And the way I felt was just like somebody who has dementia or Alzheimer's. They know something is wrong. They want to express themselves, but they can't. Somebody who's in a coma. I felt like I was in a coma. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't. And people were just looking at me thinking, oh, she's near dead. You know, and so because the voice wasn't there, you know, I felt like a deaf person who hearing people say, oh, she's stupid because she can't talk. But it's because I'm deaf, but I can talk and I have a mind, I have opinions. So not voting is taking your voice away from you. So I always try to explain it that way so people don't have to wait until they are in their 70s before their voice can come out.
Absolutely.
I would ask a follow-up question. How do you feel about the young people who don't exercise their right to vote?
I was just gonna say, and speak on that.
The global.
You know, young people and old people who say, there's no need to vote, my vote don't count. Well, if you don't vote, it surely doesn't count. If you don't say something, nobody will hear you. And we've seen enough evidence that if we all lean to the left or the right, the ship will move the way the people move the ship. But you gotta be on the ship to help move the ship. You can't be standing at the port complaining on the wharf.
And you know, to follow up on that, you know, I think it's real important that we show them the reason why they need to vote. You know what I'm saying? Because I talked to a lot of them out there, and what she said is that a lot of the sentiments I hear, like my vote don't matter, it doesn't matter. We have to educate them to show them that their vote really does matter. And you know, without that education, they're going to keep on having that same thing. And when we do forums like this, it's important that way they can really see it. One thing that I believe will help the younger generation if they see our leaders more visible out in the community. That way they can feel like they can touch them and also feel the humanness in them. And now they know who they're voting for, and they might just get out and vote a little bit more.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. There was a time when we had Mayor James McGee. You know, he would show up and he would stay. Some of our elected officials would wave at the door. So somebody said, oh, there he is, and they disappeared. My grandkids, they went to an after-school program, and one time I took them to an event where they said all the elected officials stand up, and everybody stood up, including the owner who ran the after school program. She was the mayor of Trotwood. And the kids who knew her, saw her every day, they didn't realize that she was doing even something more than just being there. And you should have seen their eyes light up, you know, and that gave me an opportunity to teach them, because then some of them would say, Mayor, what's a mayor? You know, then I could explain to them, because they don't teach civics anymore.
No, they don't.
I could explain to them what a mayor is, what a mayor does, and they had a different, and so some of them, can I be a mayor too then? You know, so it's very, very important for them to be visible and to be there.
And what Mama Nozipo just said is so significant. the school board does not require a civics course before graduation. And if you don't take civics, you don't know how the country runs, you don't know the state legislature rules, you don't know what a plat is, or what even your precinct would be. So the only reason why I can think the civics was taken out of high school curriculum is so that people graduate without knowing how the government works. And if you're not part of the process, then you get to feel that you're not part of the process. So if we really want to see some drastic social change, I think we might have to do like folks did before we were free. We got to find little hidey places to be able to teach our children how the real world works. Because if they don't know, they don't feel like they have a reason to participate.
So to speak to that even further though, today's children, it's not just about not knowing, it's also about this hasn't been even a concept for them to see represented because most of their parents don't go and vote.
Oh yeah.
Most of their parents are echoing the same sentiment that this isn't important. So how are you instilling a new educational system into this child when they've been taught this entire time, this isn't worth your time? And so, any thoughts on that? I know that's a difficult question to answer because
How to build trust.
how to rebuild trust, not just with a new generation coming on, but with the generation that has had the ability this entire time, but maybe still hasn't used it. I know when I was in my bid to try to become a city commissioner myself, I had to go collect ballot signatures, and even in those conversations I was having with people, it was, oh, that's not important, I'm not even registered, I don't care, they're not going to do nothing for me, it doesn't matter, and I'm actively trying to engage, like, hey, I would be the person that will represent you, I do care, but the idea of politics in general has passed them beyond to the point where they feel like they can actually speak to anyone who represents them or who's supposed to represent them.
Sometimes it's hard to see tangible benefits, right? And let's be real. We can get all the five commissioners that we want, and the hood won't cease to be the hood. The hood's going to be the hood, right? And we can't kid people about that. We can't say that your material condition is going to change overnight, but your living experience can be elevated, right? It's the difference between your roles being paid. It's the difference between you having something to do after school.
Yes.
It's the difference between you having the resources you need to survive on a daily basis. I'm not saying that DeSoto Bass is not going to be DeSoto Bass, right? I'm not saying that Gettysburg is going to all of a sudden be the Gettysburg of the 1970s overnight. But what I am saying is that there are services that you deserve. There are things that you can have, but you have to participate in this process. It's a reason that, for instance, people dump their trash in a particular part of the city because that's the part of the city they think they can get away with it. And so if we vote somebody in, then say, hey, I voted for you and I will not continue to vote for you if you keep letting these construction companies dump all their trash in my neighborhood. That's the differences we can make, right? I'm not going to say you're going to make $100,000 overnight, but I can say that I'm going to try to keep construction companies dumping their tires and trash and whole living rooms in your backyard.
And I think, we talk about what's not happening. What's the strategy to shift it, to change it?
Right.
All of us know that there are countless numbers of summer camps for children. And I love my people, and I love my people's history. But there is no need for us to teach the grandiosity of Egypt if we can't teach our children how the city runs here. They don't live in the past, they live in the future. And if they don't learn how to participate, they don't get to shape their own future. They get drugged into the future. And that does not make us powerful. And we know that if we put our minds together, that we can change the politics of the country. We got ourselves free. That's one of the things we have to teach our children. We got ourselves free. Didn't nobody free us. We freed ourselves by understanding political power and where to work. So sometimes when folks were shuffling, they were shuffling with intent. Why pick cotton fast if you're going to have to pick more tomorrow? So we're going to have to rearrange who has responsibility for making sure our community is educated. If our government can't do it, we have to do it ourselves.
And that's a good point, you know, making sure that we do it ourselves. One of the issues that I've spoken on, and one of our guests in the audience, Mr. Shackelford, we spoke on it together at a meeting. How come our city and our county administrators keep on putting the resources in the wrong hands instead of the people who are really got boots on the ground are out here, and you know what I'm saying, where these people that we're trying to reach, who we say won't vote and everything, and they see us out there and they see us out here really grinding, that might change their mindset to say, okay, now that the resources are reaching the people that we see are really making a difference, that gives me the incentive to go out there and vote. Now that I see that they're getting the incentives instead of, you know what I'm saying, us struggling to try to do the things that we're doing and everything.
I truly believe that in order to change the dynamics of voter participation and representation, we as servants must reach out and touch the people. We have to be the example. We have to go and sit and listen to the issues. We have to go and see where they live, how they're living, the things that they are facing, the issues that they're going through. When we don't see that for ourselves, it's hard for us to have the compassion and the empathy that we need, that drives us as servant leaders to do what it is that we do. Most of us, if we're very quite honest, or half of us, refuse to get our hands dirty. We're not 10 toes down. Nobody knows who you are, who we are. Nobody. And if they don't know who you are, I guarantee you will never get their vote. You will never change the dynamics until we as a people decide that we're going to take off our fancy hats, we're going to take off our titles, we're going to take off our name tag, we're going to put down our accolades and our